Pinocchio. That's where it is. Tuscany. Because that's fennel. It's fennel salami, that's why.
Nuclear energy creates an uneasy feeling of danger for many people. Ancient and dangerous minerals are concentrated to awaken seemingly unnatural powers, creating horribly toxic elements that, if they escape, can and have killed people in horrible ways. How many people has nuclear energy killed, and how? Nuclear energy has been a thing since 1951, and since then, there have been around 30 reported accidents globally. Most of them were pretty minor compared to the two disasters everybody is familiar with, Fukushima and Chernobyl. Chernobyl is undoubtedly the worst nuclear accident in history for a number of reasons. The reactor technology was old and ill-prepared for emergencies, and the government response was slow and more concerned about image than damage control. Still, only 31 people died directly in the accident. But what makes nuclear energy scary is not reactors blowing up, but the radiation they release. So the real question is, how many deaths through cancer and other diseases will Chernobyl cause? Here things get really complicated because you dip right into controversy, and just discussing the different estimates and how they were calculated deserves a video of its own. The most pessimistic estimate comes from a study commissioned by the European Green Party and projects up to 60,000 premature deaths by the year 2065.
Premature.
Most
Not
scientific
premature,
studies
premature?
come up with numbers much lower than this. The WHO
That might
has
be British
estimated
something.
that in total, the long-term death toll will be around 4,000.
Premature.
While the
Maybe
UN
for
Scientific
English,
Committee on the
British
effects
English.
of atomic radiation concluded that even this figure could be too high. For more details on this, check our
There's
research
some
document.
loose screws in my brain for
The
processing
second big
language.
nuclear accident was Fukushima Daiichi in 2011. Fukushima did not only
Like
operate
yesterday
with
when
much
you were
better
telling me, what
technology
was it?
that was less dangerous in the first
Avatar?
place,
What
much
was it?
better security
Avatar?
measures were in place, and the official response was fast and decisive. And so the current death toll is only 573. The major difference here is that these deaths were not a consequence of radiation. They were indirect deaths from the stress of the evacuation of the areas around the reactors and occurred almost entirely in older populations. Estimates of the possible long-term deaths from radiation vary widely, from none at all to about 1,000. In terms of the other long-term consequences, an increase in thyroid cancer in children has been observed, but according to the WHO, this is related to the increased screening rates. By 2018, there had been only one confirmed death among workers as a result of radiation-induced lung cancer. Now, let's compare this to renewable energy. Solar, wind, and geothermal energy basically only cause deaths as a result of construction and maintenance accidents. Unfortunately, their current share of global energy is pretty low. The major player in renewable energy is hydropower, which mostly means building dams and letting water flow through turbines from a higher elevation to a lower elevation. In total, hydro has been the most fatal in terms of accidents, with hundreds of thousands of deaths in the last half-century. One accident clearly stands out, the 1975 Bankao hydroelectric dam failure in China, which has striking similarities to Chernobyl. Old technology, poor design, and poor management by authoritarian governments concerned about appearances. In a nutshell, a massive typhoon triggered intense flooding that destroyed the dam and, subsequently, a number of smaller dams in a chain reaction, unleashing a flood of over 15 billion cubic meters of water in total. Kilometer-wide waves as high as buildings devastated thousands of square kilometers of countryside and countless communities. All in all, the death toll from just this one accident and its direct consequences is estimated to lie between 85,000 to 240,000. But all of these deaths caused by nuclear and renewable energy are actually negligible in comparison to the real killer energy source, fossil fuel, the most widely used source of energy and electricity. When we burn fossil fuels to heat up water and make turbines spin, or to cause mini explosions to move cars with internal combustion engines, gases like ozone, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, and nitrogen dioxide are released into the atmosphere. Breathing in these gases disrupts lung function, which aggravates chronic conditions like asthma and bronchitis, and causes a wide range of respiratory and cardiovascular diseases. But even more dangerous is the fine particle pollution burning fossil fuels causes. A mixture of solid and liquid droplets of poisonous substances as small as 2.5 microns in diameter. They easily find their way deep into your lungs and increase the risk of deadly diseases like lung cancer, stroke, and heart disease. Fossil fuel-related air pollution is the #1 cause of environmental-related deaths in the world. According to the WHO, it accounts for 29% of all cases of lung cancer, 17% of deaths from acute lower respiratory infection, 24% from stroke, 25% from ischemic heart disease, and 43% from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. All in all, outside air pollution adds up to the deaths of 4 million people each year. What makes air pollution especially problematic and sinister is the fact that the damage it causes happens very gradually, which makes it hard for our brains that didn't evolve with subtle dangers in mind to realize the scope of the problem. Collectively, air pollution from fossil fuels is estimated to have killed around 100 million people in the past 50 years. But wait, is that really fair? Fossil fuels also provide over 80% of global energy, so it makes sense that they cause the most deaths. So let's compare deaths per energy unit. Deaths per energy unit produced. A few studies have compared the death rates from different energy sources per 1 terawatt-hour. That's about the annual energy consumption of 27,000 EU citizens, or 12,600 US citizens. To produce that much energy for 1 year, coal causes 25 deaths, oil causes 18, and natural gas 3. Renewable energy causes 1 death every few decades. And nuclear, in the worst case, nuclear energy would cause 1 death every 14 years. One study even found that nuclear energy actually saved 2 million lives between 1971 and 2009 by displacing fossil fuels from the global energy mix. The numbers are clear. Even when using wildly pessimistic numbers, nuclear energy is among the safest forms of energy generation, and at a time when we're struggling to slow down rapid climate change, it's a really valuable low-carbon option. However, all these facts still leave one major argument that is fielded against nuclear power. Opponents of nuclear energy argue that nuclear waste and its lack of long-term storage solutions is an unacceptable problem and risk, while proponents of nuclear energy say that until renewable energies are able to cover the complete energy demands of mankind, it's arguably safer to store nuclear waste for the time being than to inhale poisonous gases and promote rapid climate change. But a detailed discussion about nuclear waste would go too far here. More about it in our sources. Let us know if you'd like a whole video about it. So looking at the comparative death rates, it's a bit concerning that some countries are replacing nuclear energy with fossil fuels, mostly coal. Especially Germany and Japan have been the most active in dismantling their nuclear fleet. In a ploy to appease the public, the German government shut down 11 of its 17 nuclear facilities and plans to close the remaining reactors in 2022. The immediate gap in energy production was filled by temporarily increasing coal production, the energy source with the largest health impacts and the worst consequences for climate change. A 2019 analysis concluded that as a consequence, the nuclear phase-out has led to 1,100 avoidable deaths per year in Germany due to the increased air pollution in the years after 2010. So, in conclusion, nuclear energy feels way more dangerous than it actually is. No matter how you look at it, the one thing we should strive to get rid of as quickly as possible are fossil fuels to prevent the deaths they cause each year and to slow down climate change. Regardless of how much you personally care about climate change issues or which energy source you favor, saving millions of lives should be something we can all agree on. Maybe you've actually made some kind of resolution to try and be more sustainable this year. Or maybe your goals are more about you as a person and you'd like to pick up some new skills. Still being stuck mostly inside is the perfect time to work on that plan. We've partnered with Skillshare, an online learning community that offers thousands of classes for all skill levels in tons of creative skills like illustration, animation, or film and video. But you could also dive into classes about productivity, growing houseplants, or interior design, all perfect for making your time at home more enjoyable and learning something new. You get unlimited access to all classes for less than $10 a month with an annual premium membership. And the first 1,000 Kurzgesagt viewers to click the link in the description will get a free trial. And if you can't decide which class to take, maybe get started with something super practical, like learning how to best approach your creative process. We liked Productivity for Creatives, Build a System that Brings Out Your Best by Thomas Frank. But whatever makes you feel good and gives you new ideas is worth a try. If you want to get creative with new skills and support Kurzgesagt, give it a go. Do we need nuclear energy to stop climate change? More and more voices from science, environmental activists, and the press have been saying so in recent years. But this comes as a shock to those who are fighting against nuclear energy and the problems that come with it. So, who's right? Well, it's complicated. To slow rapid climate change, the world needs to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to net zero. In 2018, 3/4 of global emissions were released through energy production, namely by burning fossil fuels. Energy is a broad term that describes all sorts of stuff, from moving things and people around to putting things big and small together or heating our homes. Currently, 84% of the world's primary energy comes from fossil fuels, 33% from oil, 27% from coal, and 24% from gas. Around 10% of the global oil supply is just used to burn in boilers to make our homes cozy and warm. Only about 16% of global energy is from low-emission sources, almost 7% from hydroelectric, 5% from solar, wind, bioenergy, wave, tidal and geothermal combined, and about 4% from nuclear. So we pretty much rely on coal, oil and gas to keep our civilization going, which means it's actually very hard to transition away from them. To have a chance of escaping fossil fuels without throwing humanity back into the Stone Age, one of the most impactful things we can do is to electrify as many sectors as possible. Electricity is the stuff that appears like magic when you plug something into a socket so you can watch YouTube. Every industry that can switch from burning fossil fuels to electricity needs to do so, from electric cars to electric heaters. Why do we need to bet so hard on electricity? Because we can produce electricity with low-emission technologies like solar, wind, or